All right, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the South Texas Commercial Association of Realtors, also known as STCAR, for our first zooming across South Texas with commercial real estate, with our first commercial real estate webinar. So we invite everyone to join us over the next few months as we make stops in Laredo, San Antonio, the Rio Grande Valley, and then, of course, our first stop is in Corpus Christi, Texas. We also invite you to join STCAR if you're not already a member. Whether you're a member of a primary board, we invite you to join as a secondary board. And if you're a broker or realtor and looking for a primary board, then we, of course, welcome you. And also invite you to go to our stcar.org website for a full list of benefits of being a member of STCAR. But enough of the advertising, and we'll continue. Before I continue, I want to thank the STCAR staff, Christy Preston and Jeremy Brewer, for getting us on the air. And then, of course, our immediate past president, Lorna Teraguchi, for getting our speakers for today's webinar. And if you do have any questions for our speakers, we invite you to put them in the Q&A section, not the chat section, and then we can get to those questions as when we get to the Q&A section. But moving right along, we will get into our first speaker, and our first speaker today is Jason Alaniz. And Jason is uniquely qualified to speak about Corpus Christi. He was born and raised in Corpus Christi. He graduated from a very good university called Texas A&M University. Notice the color today, Jason. He began his career at the City of Corpus Christi's Economic Development and Intergovernmental Relations departments. He also has worked in commercial real estate brokerage for 10 years. He's been the Downtown Management District as the Economic Development Manager for 3 years, and he's currently the Redevelopment Officer for the city's Economic Development Department, and he's been in that position since 2021. So, Jason, we welcome you. We thank you very much for speaking with us today, and to all of the STCAR members and attendees, and this is going to be recorded and be able to review that later for those who were unable to be on our meeting. So, Jason, we'll turn it over to you. Tell us what's going on in Corpus.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you all for attending. Would y'all mind allowing me to share, or you can pull up the PowerPoint. It says share has been disabled.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you could, if you have it ready to load, that's fine. I can just tell you to go to the next slide.
Do you see it?
Yes. There we go. And everyone's good. Okay. All righty. Well, thanks again for joining us. So I'll be talking about, commercial development from the City of Corpus Christi's perspective, and my experience with that, and what my main focus is with the City of Corpus Christi's Economic Development Department. Next slide, please. So our department, unfortunately, had been dissolved in about 2010 and was revived in 2022. So we've had about 12 years that the city didn't have an economic development department. Back then, there was major budget cuts. So the effects of the Great Recession, we felt those effects here. So the city had to cut things somewhere, right? And unfortunately, this department was a factor of that. But with new leadership and new city management, they've really realized the importance of having an economic development department, and therefore it finally got fully funded last year. And our main focus as we go into last year and then into this year We have kind of five main focus areas, and that's development facilitation, commercial real estate development, small business retention and expansion, programs, policies, incentives, and then the last one is a kind of special major projects. And the first one that we have on board on that is the convention center expansion and hotel. Now I'll go into the commercial real estate development aspect here shortly, but the development facilitation is really assisting developers interdepartmentally. So whether that's issues with permitting, zoning, planning, streets, public works, code, kind of all of that, and getting you past the first desk, right? So getting you to someone who can really move the needle for you as a developer. The small business retention and expansion, we're still building that out, but what that looks like is really true small businesses, sorry. So, the Regional Economic Development Corporation focuses on large employers, targeted industries, that sort of thing. But there never was, the city never really focused on true small business, excuse me, and commercial real estate development. So that'll be kind of helping people connect with our community partners or other city services that they may need. The program policies, incentives, that kind of speaks for itself. Without having a department for 12 years, all of these were completely outdated and were really underutilized back then anyways. So we're really hitting this hard, getting really creative with these programs, policies, and incentives, and really being able to utilize and optimize these to the full extent that the state law allows. And then the convention center expansion hotel, we have an outdated convention center. We don't have a true convention hotel. We've commissioned a study that's going really well. We recently lobbied the state legislature, which got signed by the governor, to allow us to form a PFZ, which I'll go into that briefly here in a moment. But essentially it'll allow us to kind of move forward in the convention center expansion and convention hotel realm. Next slide. So the commercial real estate development, and these are my main focus areas for that. We're looking at infill, adaptive reuse, mixed use developments. That's kind of the core of it. And then within that, there's your workforce to market rate housing development, your activation of underutilized vacant properties, targeted retail, entertainment type developments, master plan community development, and then recruitment of developer investors, which historically the city has never really focused on much of these with a concerted effort. So there's a lot of economic benefit to that with doing really infill development. There's a lot of public infrastructures already there, police and fire already service those areas. So there's a massive economic impact to focus on these areas. The next slide, please. And so how do we do all that, right? What are the tools that we have to kind of facilitate this? There's the first three are what we've done before, but haven't really utilized as well as we should, which is a TERS, a tax increment reinvestment zone. We have a few of those in the city. Type A, B, which is that comes from sales tax, and those are incentives that we can utilize through that. Chapter 380 agreements, that's kind of a catch-all. And then housing finance corporation, public facility corporations, those are geared towards more housing or government facilities. Project finance zone, that's the one that we'll be utilizing that we got passed for the city of Corpus Christi. That'll be used for the convention center hotel and convention center expansion. That will allow us to recoup the state's portion of the HOT funds, which is the hotel occupancy tax, and the state's portion of the sales tax. So, here in Corpus Christi, the sales tax is 8.25. 6 of that goes to the state. We'll be able to recoup that to help finance this deal. And it's also important to note that I do want to say that throughout all of our talks with the convention center expansion hotel, that not anywhere in those talks is there talks about raising taxes. I mean, these are all, we're looking at financing through existing structures to where we do not have to raise taxes to finance this major development. And then industrial district agreements, I won't go too much into that, but I think Corpus, parts of Galveston, Baytown, and Beaumont really utilize this. It's essentially a promise not to um, incorporate portions of the ETJ in the city, such as like here locally, like our refineries, major petro plants and stuff like that. In return, they pay a discounted percentage of their appraised values with a promise not to incorporate them. And then public improvement districts. There's a couple of projects that I'll mention here later that utilize that. That's essentially a financing mechanism through bonds for master developers to do horizontal infrastructure. And then it can be an assessment that puts back on the on themselves or the property owners later on. And then a planned unit development, essentially that is it's really utilized for big master developments where you just get all your zoning waivers essentially into a PUD, and then it gets approved that way. So like setbacks, zoning changes, density, increased density, parking waivers, that sort of thing. Now, the next few slides, I'm going to go into economic development bellwethers for our city, right? So the next one is, next slide, please, is our sales tax collections. And this is important because you'll see the check mark, right? The recovery since COVID. If you notice back in 2019, we had 993 million-ish, I believe, and then it went down in 2020, as you can imagine, a little bit. But we've been on the rise since. And the sales tax collections for fiscal year 23, keep in mind the city's fiscal year is October through September. So we're well into this fiscal year 23 for the city of Corpus Christi. They're definitely exceeding last year's year-to-date numbers. So the outlook is good on that. And that shows your kind of your economic activity of people buying things in your city, whether that's people living there, vacationers, tourists, business travelers, that sort of thing. The next one, that's a good economic indicator on we're a big tourist industry. So this is a big economic indicator for us. These are your hot fund collections, which is your hotel occupancy tax. And as you can tell, there's that checkmark recovery on that. It went down during COVID. And then, we're a good drive market, and Texas in general is a inward migration state, which expedited during COVID and continues to do so. So we're the beach to San Antonio, Austin, Dallas to an extent, and some other inward states. So our hot fund collections are increasing, and year to date, those are far exceeding last year's year to date as well. And the next one is, so how does this translate right into commercial activity, residential activity? As you can tell, the top one is our residential permits issued. So that has been at an increase, which is probably not a surprise to any of you with, given the housing industry. And then the commercial one, there's a small downward decline on that. Now, commercial permits issued usually lag behind residential historically, not always, but historically they do. And, there's a lot of reasons for that, uncertainty in the markets and that sort of stuff, financial markets. However, year to date, we are seeing commercial permits are far exceeding last year's year to date. So if we were basically to stop today, we'd have more than last year's commercial permits issued. Next slide. So now we'll go into the two master plan developments that we have going on, and these are on the island of Corpus Christi. So the first one is Whitecap development. If any of you are familiar, this was the former Schlitterbahn site in Corpus Christi. It's a 240-acre development, approximately $800 million development, and this will be over the course of about 10 years. It's considered a bay to Gulf community, as it connects through the canal system on the island. They'll have about 640 residential lots, 40 acres of navigable canal, 40-acre public-private parks. And then they'll have a retail component in this. And it'll be a mixed retail boardwalk, which will include a full-service hotel, walking community trails, a marina, and then just various, retail shops and that sort of stuff, and entertainment. As I said, this will connect to the existing canal system, which is important for, environmentally for the flow of the water system. It provides more oxygen, which will give more marine life, and that sort of stuff to our existing canal system. And then, so the city participated in this one through a TERS, which is the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, a PID, and a PUD. So we participated in this to help the developer realize this development, and it was instrumental in that. The next slide, please. So this is the conceptual rendering of the site plan. To the south, or to the bottom of this map, that's Park Road 22. If you're familiar with that, that Park Road 22 leads to the bridge that can get you off the island. And to the right of this was really where the Schlierbahn site was, and then the rest of it was a golf course essentially. And they acquired some other small pieces of property. So the canal system is built. It's closed off right now, so it's kind of brackish freshwater, if you will. They will be connecting over there to the left of the screen eventually that's where they'll connect to the existing canal, and other portions they'll connect through box culverts. The important part here as well that I think is really cool that adds, the synergy of this development and the next one is to the bottom of the screen. It connects to Lake Padre development, which is the one I'll talk about here in a little bit. The canal system will, and walkways will as well. There's a bond project that's building a bridge over Park Road 22 to allow for this navigable canal to reach the other development. But this is a really, this is really going to change the face of the island, and, I think for the better. Next slide, please. So this is Lake Padre development. And if you can see, so this will be it's about 102 acres, smaller than the other one, but about $700 million development, again, over about 10 years or so. They'll have a little bit more commercial on this one, and it'll be about 50 acres of commercial. It'll be similar makeup, retail village, entertainment district. They'll also have a full service hotel. They'll have a full service marina and dry stack boat storage. And this one will have more of a mixed residential units, right? The other one it's mostly single family. This one will have single family as well, but they also have apartments and an area for short-term rentals. One thing that makes this one very unique is that they'll have offshore boat accommodations, meaning that those boats have a bigger hull, have a bigger draft, and there's a canal that can connect them to Packery Channel, which then connects them to the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, you can be in the Gulf of Mexico probably in a boat ride in 5 to 10 minutes from here. And that's, the biggest, the nearest city that has this is Port Aransas. So this is really major development for the city of Corpus Christi. Next slide, please. And then this is the conceptual rendering of the site plan for that. If you look up there in about the middle area, that's where that connects to the Whitecap development up at the top of your screen, where that bridge will go, and there's a navigable canal that you can go through there. Now the offshore boats won't be able to go under the bridge, but your bay boats, kayaks, that sort of stuff will be able to navigate that. And there'll be walkways on each side of that as well. And that's really all I have for now. Happy to answer any questions, but thank you all so much.
Randy, you're muted.
Jason, thank you. And there's definitely a lot going on over there. I've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
Of your toolbox that you have, which do you find that you're dipping in more often for economic incentive?
I would say our TERS, which is our tax increment reinvestment zone. We have one that covers portions of the island here, which are in these two developments. The Lake Padre one, they've done a lot of their horizontal infrastructure, but they're going to come back for an official ask on theirs, which is why I didn't include that. But they'll have a TERS and partnership as well. We have one for downtown and North Beach, and I would say the downtown and this one are the most active. But those, I would say those are probably utilized the most right now.
And of the increase in residential permits, are you finding that y'all are benefiting quite a bit from the influx of new citizens coming in from California and New York and the Midwest?
We are. I don't think we're not seeing the influx like the bigger cities are. And this is anecdotal, but what I've seen is some from other states, but we're actually seeing a decent amount from within the state who they're kind of like, to live inside Austin, you've got to be making some good money. And then you're living in the suburbs at that point. And with remote work, a lot of people are just like, I like the water. I like to sail. I like to fish. I can live in Corpus Christi. I can remote work and I can have, better quality of life for what they define it as. Right. So we're definitely seeing some people within the state, within the bigger cities move here. I don't think we don't have that massive migration from California into Corpus Christi. We certainly have some, but it's not like what Austin, Dallas are seeing.
And jumping over to your comments on the Whitecap development, what did you say that the timeline on that is a 10-year timeline?
Approximately, yes.
Approximately 10 years.
And they'll be working on the residential first, and then the commercial in their subsequent phases.
And then you mentioned that the canal system is now freshwater brackish. Is the goal to make that a saltwater?
Yeah. So what I failed to mention there is it's closed off for GLO permitting purposes. So once they connect, because right now it's considered a closed loop, like a lake, if you will, to where they don't have to adhere, and it's private. So they don't have to adhere to certain permitting requirements. Once that artificial dam that they have is removed, then they connect to the saltwater system, which then triggers additional oversight and permitting requirements to work within that saltwater system. And right now, that translates to dollars, right? So right now it's simply cheaper and faster to keep it a closed loop system right now. And then once they open it up and the saltwater system comes in, and it just becomes way more expensive and timely to work with those parameters.
Do you have any idea what the average housing cost of those developments are going to be?
We don't. They haven't released that yet, but it'll be higher end homes for sure.
Yeah. And what kind of commercial real estate opportunities do you see that the bridge infrastructure is going to create once that is completed? Or is it going to remain the same because of the fact that we already have a bridge going across? Or do you think that's going to improve any?
I think it'll reflect, I bet Matt could probably speak to this better than I can on the industrial side, but I know that the port industry the port industries are going to see a significant change on that, which results in a lot of the industrial companies, the service companies, right, servicing the influx of additional capacity at the port. So that's yet to be seen. We're a liquid terminal, we're not a cargo one. But at the same time, there's a lot of industrial service companies that could benefit, indirectly upon the increased activity at the port and the port industries. So we see that. I mean, we see that that will be a benefit there. And then, the old bridge is an eyesore, quite frankly. It'll free up some prime real estate within the downtown area that could be developed. And, while we have the water on one side, then you're going to have this beautiful lit up bridge, modern bridge on the other. So if we're looking at it from, let's say, some of the highest and best uses downtown are, condos, apartments, and hotels, you're going to get some really cool views, and that translates to real dollars as well.
And another aspect of economic development, your success of partnerships with the area colleges or the technical school that y'all work with. What kind of successes are y'all having with that?
Yeah, so I can't remember how many years ago, but there's already been a few graduating classes, but when the Texas A&M University created their engineering program, I mean, that's very significant for our city. We have a lot of petrochemical industries here, right? So they need engineers, and if they're looking to expand and stay, or if we're looking to recruit more, they want to see that there's a workforce to select from locally. That's always cheaper than importing labor. It always is. It always will be, at least for the foreseeable future. So it's good that you're getting some homegrown, engineers and that sort of thing. On the other side of that is Del Mar College, which there's some massive training. A lot of our Type A or Type B funds go to technical training through Del Mar College, and they're providing as well valuable training for our workforce that go into these industries as well. So that's a fantastic partnership. The city does give funding through the Type B to both A&M and Del Mar College for those training programs. And the industries love it. I mean, the industries fully support that because then they're getting their labor force locally.
And I imagine that they were a big part of the partnership as far as with Steel Dynamics and Exxon in their infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of trades that they need for those manufacturing type industries, which are severely needed. We need more, because then that's also pulling from the trades of your commercial and residential construction, so there's still that supply issue, but nonetheless, it does help the big industries.
And one more question, what impact on timing of the infrastructure completion do you see resulting from the national and international energy security prioritization from both the federal, state, and local budget commitments, for specific project completion, such as the LNG and fossil and different aspects of that?
I'm not sure if I understand. So like the securitization of that, would
Yeah, as far as what's the impact on the timing that all of this other has created because of the security prioritization that they've got going on with the federal, state, and local budgets in that, because you've got everybody fighting against LNG, but yet they're they're putting it in. So the constraints that they put on the budget as far as giving that money to the area, has that delayed the infrastructure development for the LNG and the other projects?
So this, I can say what I understand about it. I mean, that's a little out of my wheelhouse on that. That's more of like the primary industry type stuff. But what I understand with our LNG plan, I mean, they've done really well. It's helping our local economy here. And our LNG facility is able, is one of the prime ones in the US to export all of that. And we're in a locally, regionally, we're in a position to assist with that expansion in the future. But any more specifics on that, that's really kind of out of my realm of expertise.
All right. Jason, thank you very much. We appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you
your
for your questions.
presentation. And we look forward to meeting you in person sometime and getting over to Corpus and
Absolutely.
taking advantage of your expertise and good flavor of restaurants, I'm sure. All right, our next speaker we move into is well versed in the commercial real estate industry and industrial. He has been involved in commercial real estate marketing, sales, and leasing since 1975. That's evident in some of the gray hairs he has growing in his mustache, and I can say that because I'm a friend of Matt. So, but he's president of Cravey Real Estate.
You got it right the first time.
Freudian slip there, huh? The
Yes.
largest commercial real estate company south of San Antonio, and he holds two of the highest designations in the commercial real estate industry, which is the SIOR, the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, and the Certified Commercial Investment Member, which I'm proud to be a member of as well. So,
Yes,
Matt, we'll turn it over to you for your presentation.
okay. Let's see if can I. Let's see. I want to get this one right there on, huh?
Go back to Zoom. Did you share the screen?
Hold on just a minute. Where I gotta go? Where do I gotta get to share screen? Here we go. Huh? No.
Because you have.
Yes.
Mhm. Sure.
Share. All right, touch
There's
this Google Earth. All right. I'm gonna, since mine, what I'm gonna basically talk about is industrial, and show such a large area of what I've got to deal with. We're gonna pretty much use it off of Google Earth. When I first moved to Corpus Christi, there was the port was here where I'm showing this right here, and the old industrial areas or whatever were here. That's pretty much what I had to deal with. Then when the oil field picked up, well, then along Leopard Street and 37 along this area, they started building some newer warehouses. Our typical warehouse in Corpus Christi is not what other cities are used to seeing lately with the big cube type tilt wall warehouses. We're, as one guy says, we just look like we're a bunch of tin cans. All of ours are pretty well metal buildings. And the ideal one is building warehouse is a metal building with a minimum of about 2-acre yard. Anything bigger would be great. So that started being built, and that's pretty much all our warehousing that we had for a while, till finally they came over, and with all this cheap natural gas coming in, the port had already been working on some things. This was the old Sherwin aluminum plant, and the port was already working on some other things, because this La Quinta Channel right here was able to take some ships without having to bring them all the way in and come into our port and get under that bridge. And that's what's causing some of the problems. Was the bridge was too low, and we weren't deep enough. So everything started happening back over here in what they call the Gregory area. And the first plant was the first major plant was a Chinese pipe plant. Each plant after that came into the area because of the cheap natural gas and the proximity to deep water. that's what spurred everything that that started happening in this area. And then while all that was going on, the old military base was right around in this area, and it's now playing a major part. And so everything started filling in. I'm going to show you in a minute all the different plants that some were already there, some have expanded, and then started happening, coming into the area. And that's what made Gregory. And the reason Gregory also got benefit of it is Portland didn't want it. Portland wanted to stay a little more pristine, more commercial. And so the Gregory area started getting all the plants. Corpus Christi has taken a lot of credit saying that we're doing all of this, and Corpus Christi EDC has helped along with San Pat EDC, but most of these big new plants are all going into this area. And Randy talked about the Exxon plant. That's the latest large plant. It's a joint venture of Exxon and Saudi Arabia. And so anyway, all these plants are coming into this area, and we're starting to run out of resources. Is now what's happened is they're starting to they're needing water. And they're talking about industrial grade water or brackish water is being looked at, water wells, all those different things. And then Randy said something about SDI or their, huh? Yeah, so anyway, that's over here in this area. So this area here around Sinton has got a bunch of new plants or whatever that are gone in here in this big development. And so everything along this highway, all the way along here is all in play. Also because there's rail and coming through this area, it's getting over to the port. And so another problem that they're having, it's going to be a short-term problem, but AEP, American Electric Power, is already thrown up a flag that they may not have enough power to be able to handle all these plants that are coming in. So they're scrambling to help out with that. And so the infrastructure is being stretched a little bit with all of this that's happening in this area right here with these new plants. And of course, that's now made Portland a hot place. I wasn't going to get into retail, but it's really a hot area because of its school system and everything. But they're sort of the industrial sort of creeping up on it a little bit right in here. What I think that's going to be sort of odd is we're not seeing any warehousing being built over in this area. So we have all these plants in this area, and there are some warehouses, but most of it is being built back in Corpus Christi. Most of the people feel like the suppliers and the users feel like they're going to be safe by staying in Corpus Christi and coming across the bridge to service these plants than to put something over here and then going back in the other direction. So you're going to find that most of the new warehousing that's being built is back in Corpus Christi along here. And now we're getting some newer warehouses. Still nothing like what you'd see probably in a major city. So it's a real slow. It is excruciatingly slow as far as the building. And so some of these companies that are coming into town a little bit frustrated because they're looking for a bunch of new warehouses, and they keep telling us what they're seeing in other major cities. We have to remind them they're not in other major cities. We are what we are. And so this is sort of where some of the new warehousing is going, not far from the airport. So along 44 and along what we call Padre Island Drive, 358, that's where some of the new warehouses are going in. And part of it they're going in because there's finally utilities. You see all this land around here. and all this land here, and a lot of it is sitting there, which could be great development land, but it's lacking, say, drainage or water or sewer or whatever. So as it starts to be brought in, then you're starting to see some new warehouses being built. And again, there's only been one new development group out of Houston built a project, put in really nice warehouses, and it didn't go over, I think, like they thought. And they ended up leasing those warehouses for about what a metal building goes for. They leased them below market, but they just to get them filled. So what we're seeing now is going out this way, the hot new area, and it's not really a new area, but it was always there, is Robstown. And Robstown has 2 highways and 2 railroads crossing there, and Robstown should have been the hot area, and for a lot of reasons, and some of it was because of their government or whatever, they're getting that straightened out. Robstown is now going to get the benefit of quite a bit of things that are going on. One of the things that most people are hearing about is going south. Here I'm having to go a little slow, but going a little bit south of Robstown is where the Tesla, come on up, I think it's right here. And this is the Tesla battery refinery that's going to go in right here, because it's on the highway and because of rail and everything that they needed. And also, if you'll notice, there's not a lot of houses around it, so it's away from all of that. The next thing that's getting to be really hot in our area, and we're not quite sure how to deal with it, we're just starting to figure out, is hydrogen plants. We've been contacted by 4 different hydrogen plants. We're told there's probably close to 10. Some of them need ammonia to help bind with the hydrogen. So there's a whole bunch of issues of dealing with that. But that is, I think Houston's all excited about the hydrogen that's coming to their area. We're excited about it as well. There's a lot of issues they're having to deal with. I don't care, for me personally, I don't care to spend that much time on it. I'll deal with whatever I have, but by the time they get through with all the things that they have to deal with the regulatory issues, and just since there hasn't been anything over in certain areas of Corpus built, they're trying to figure out where they want to put this. The safe choice for these hydrogen deal is of course back over here. So they're gonna put it in they're gonna put it in these areas over here, just because there's already facilities in place and they're having to deal with that. Let me see if I can do this. That shows you the area I was just showing you. That shows the people why there's so much going on, and also the issues that can come up with the water, electricity, roads, whatever that may be. They're having to deal with all these different plants that have gone in, and this doesn't even show the ones that are under consideration right now. So how do I move this over, Megan? There we go. Okay, and then this gets you up to Sinton, and this shows what's on the Steel Dynamics site. These are all here. So Steel Dynamics is there, they're already expanding. And then here are all the other plants that are using the facilities, the product, I'm sorry, is being made by Steel Dynamics. And you'll notice there's some good names, and they're all expanding. And it's not like it's gonna happen. It is happening. Steel Dynamics is already expanding. This has made Sinton just take off. I mean, Sinton's got its own growing problems now, and what that's done for let me back out a little bit. I live out in the Calallen area, the northwest area of Corpus Christi, and it's made Calallen take off because a lot of people have chosen not to live in Sinton, but to come from, say, Corpus Christi and have a little bit more of things that they need to, I guess, for quality of life, and then just take a quick trip over here to Sinton to go to work and come back. So this whole area right here is I think the biggest issue that I see is that it's just we're really sprawling. There's a large area, and so if somebody is going to work, they're shipping, they're having to, if you're in the industrial and you're having to serve the any of these plants, your people are going to be doing some driving to get around to all these different areas right here. And I think that's pretty well it.
Wow, that is a lot going on up there,
Yeah.
Matt. I didn't realize, I mean, I knew a lot was going on, but that's a lot going on out there.
You're pretty well, 30 to 50 billion dollars worth of projects are going on, and the port, when they can get this bridge done, I think Jason probably know more than I would, but they've pretty well got all the widening, deepening of the port channel. They've been doing their dredging, all that's been going on, and they're but way behind on the bridge. As far as I'm concerned, they can take their time, just get it right. And because there's going to be a lot of traffic going over the top of that bridge. I just want to make sure it was done right so these big ships can get past it. And I guess I think that's what people don't realize is that's what saved us, in my opinion. The oil field is off dramatically, the oil exploration, but all the other products that are downstream, whether it's pipeline, the refining, or drawing in these plants. The reason we got so many of those plants is because all that cheap gas came towards the port, and because we had the port and we're along the coast and the cheap gas, then it just brought in the steel plants and all the other companies that use this cheaper natural gas that we have.
Well, and that's one thing that I think is still so positive and exciting is as much as is being done to try to squash fossil fuel and its products. The Corpus has expanded in all of that. Yes, we may not have the exploration, but all the byproducts of it is still going strong and very evident by all of the factories that you have shown there up in the Gregory area of that area. What has I mean, it's probably very obvious, but what has all of this development done to industrial prices and warehouse?
Well, industrial, and we're getting more for industrial warehouses than they're getting for our office buildings downtown. Matter of fact, I have some owners that own office buildings and wonder why they own the office buildings when they could make more profit off of owning industrial buildings. And of course, the person that made the comment about I don't want to buy a bunch of tin cans in your city, he hasn't seen the profits that are being made by those tin cans. But the thing that I think that it's so exasperating is to be able to get across to, say, retailers or other people that are moving in there. We've changed. So if they're looking at old data, just like we were working with somebody to go to Sinton and a project we have, their Somerset project right outside, right on the edges of Sinton, everything they had was so out of date. It was, and they were sort of untrusting. Whether, I mean, we're a bunch of fast talking brokers, and are we, we trying to deceive them with it? And when they finally take the time to verify what's happening, say around Robstown or around Sinton or around Gregory and Portland, they're absolutely amazed at what they're finding out and the opportunities that are all around just that general area right there.
And to me, it seems like there also has to be, with all this industry coming in, it seems to me like there's got to be a stress on the housing market as well, as far as providing the housing for the number of people that are getting jobs at these factories and industries.
I have a friend that was in the oil field, and he was really concerned about the ups and downs of oil field, and I convinced him to go talk to SDI, and he's been with them now 2 years. He makes $130,000 a year. He just showed me his bonus check, which was around 60-something thousand based on their production. And sometimes it's embarrassing the way he hugs me for thanking him to go over to SDI. And but when you've been around the oil field so much, that's what and you tend to keep, and it's changing. And we lost a lot of our oil field, moved north up to San Antonio to follow the and work out of south of San Antonio, and you're going to have to change. And I think that's what's got people so amazed at what they're paying these people, and they'll train you, like what Jason was saying earlier about. I mean, the universities and the colleges are going out of their way to train people, and I think it's just, I think a lot of people think they can't do the work, and they find out that they can. With proper training, these plants could be run. If there's anything I don't care about, is I think when they were building Cheniere, the Cheniere plant, I forget how many thousand people it took to build it, but it only takes a couple of hundred to run it. And the well-paying jobs, don't get me wrong, but you sort of miss all those construction workers when you've got thousands of construction workers and they're being paid pretty well. That's the only part that I do miss. And you try to accommodate for something for them to live while they're doing all of that, but then you could see it just go away. So that's why you see a little bit of limited on the housing. I don't know, we will get calls from somebody wanting to put in apartments or something over around that area, around the Sinton and Gregory, Aransas Pass, Ingleside. And then they want to see how much of that is permanent jobs and how much is it going to be, just a temporary construction job.
Matt, you've made mention of the tin cans in Corpus Christi, but but are there not a lot of tilt wall facilities being built? So
No.
they are still
No, we do have some tilt wall buildings being built, but they're build to suit, or they're being built by one of the big companies. a company or whatever. I mean, my gosh, you ought to see the building that's being built for the food bank. I mean, it's a gorgeous tilt wall facility, and there's others around there. They're spotted around there, but as a whole, you're not seeing the big distribution centers that you'd see, say, like, you go in, we drive up to San Antonio and or even heck, Laredo or the Valley, just anywhere else, there you'll see those real nice tilt wall buildings. You don't see them in our area. It's the metal building is quicker and easier, and and you can get it up and be in business in no time at all. And there's more people that can build them. In our area, you're limited by who very few of the companies can build you a tilt wall building.
And another question, as far as you made or you mentioned AEP, what have they given any timeline, or are they're just nonstop trying to get the production done for?
We've been told that it could take as much as 4 years for them to build enough substations to handle all of it. And I did learn something else. I'm jumping around here a little bit. That's part of the reason why Robstown is getting looked at, because of the 2 highways and the 2 railroads that cross there, and the proximity. You can see from Robstown to on the aerial there to Calallen, that's Corpus Christi city limits. I was just 4 miles away. And then going down the other direction, you can get to the airport in 14 miles if it's that much. But the reason Robstown is I would encourage anybody to look around that area is it's not overtaxed. There's still available water and transportation that's available to them, and it's still not overtaxed. The other thing that we're finding out is from the hydrogen plants. I mentioned something about public water, and one of the operators said we would really rather not have we would rather have brackish water than public water. And I was like, why? And they said, because we have to remove all the chemicals that are put into your drinking water. We have to move it out to help with the make the water ready to go into the hydrogen process. And so the good news is there is lots of availability of brackish water that could be could be made ready to go into these hydrogen plants. But I don't know, the only other thing that I see that's coming to the area other than the hydrogen is just all the other service industries that are coming to help serve all these plants. Need somebody to service them, keep because once they get built, our salt air can be really tough on these plants, and so they're needing somebody working on them on a regular basis.
And with Tesla going in, is the infrastructure and the utilities adequate there for that, or is that still?
Oh, everything. It's under construction.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. I mean, Tesla did what every plant, every company needs to. They were moving dirt when they did the announcement and the groundbreaking, where everybody else says we're gonna do this, and they get everybody excited, and then they don't. Nothing happens for a long period of time. Tesla did it right. There's dirt being moved in the background while they're doing their announcement. So yes, it's happening. I mean, we believe in our heart that we'll see more out of because of this Tesla plant. I mean, this is only the mixing. What they're talking about is mixing of the chemicals and the products to make the battery. They don't actually make the battery at this location. So that material then has to be taken somewhere else. So we're and that somebody some company will come along and then want to buy that material or take that material to actually make the battery. And I don't know much about it other than I'm glad they moved it south away from the city, because I don't know what's involved in it. And by the way, we didn't mention, but on the King Ranch, Occidental leased 100,000 acres to put in a carbon dioxide recapture plants. So I mean 100,000 acres, and that is a huge deal. And that's one of the byproducts, is to make the hydrogen, they're going to need the carbon dioxide. And so they're going to recapture that there at Oxy is going to be able to do that down in Kingsville. So I mean, I didn't even go down that way, but so from Kingsville all the way up to Sinton over to Victoria and everything around in this whole general area, we're getting a little bit of just a little bit of everything coming in this area.
And you'd mentioned earlier that Portland kind of chose not to seek the manufacturing, the industrial.
Yeah.
Do you feel that they've kind of looked back upon that decision as a bad decision, or they still want to kind of be the tourist spot? Is there anything going on west of Portland along the bay?
Yeah, Portland's getting a huge, I mean, no, I think they did the right thing. I mean, they protected their area. They've got an unbelievable school district, and they're getting a larger target than we have back in Corpus. So there's huge retail development. There's all kinds of great things around Portland. I don't think they quite grasped, though, how close some of this industry was going to be able to get to their city limits. I think that's the part, just like when you see that Exxon plant, and you can see it, and you're at the school grounds, and you can look over and you can clearly see that plant from the so I don't think they quite grasp that part. They're getting it now, though, but Portland is going to do real well, and I applaud them for making the decision that they weren't going to be. They would let Aransas Pass, Ingleside, Gregory, even all the way up to Taft, but they were going to let them handle any type of industry, and let them try. And then Portland was going to be more of the the retail, the apartment complexes, a nice school district, nice place to live.
Right. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much for your very interesting presentations that you've done this morning. We're about we are at the end of our hour that we promised, and I have just so that I catch all the questions. Matt, would you be able to zoom in there where the new bridge is being built to show where that's happening at?
Ooh, it didn't like that. Here's the existing bridge going across, and you know, it's funny, this is not showing it real well on this deal, but you can pretty well line up. This is Crosstown, which is 286, and you can pretty line it up that it's going across this area right here, right through this area and across to the other side, and then it's more of an angle because it's going to come back in right there. And what Jason was talking about is this area right here, where once this bridge comes out and all this area is here, this is going to open up for all kinds of neat things. So you got the ballpark right here, and the convention center over here, and so all this is taking up valuable real estate right in between here. So this is going to be open. I'm sure the city is trying to decide, Jason will know more than I do about what's gonna happen here, but there's people paying attention to this area right here.
That's great. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. A lot going on in Corpus, and I know Jason's got to run, and we appreciate him being there. And Matt, we appreciate you as well, and we appreciate everyone that's been in attendance today. And we invite y'all to join us on our next Zoom across South Texas, which will be in Laredo. And I believe that's going to be on August 22nd. So you might make sure that Christy gets your email. She'll send you an invitation to join that. And we appreciate everybody's attention today. So Matt, Jason, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.